I think my favorite part of the combine, my favorite part of this entire ridiculous 3-month cycle of the pomp and circumstance of draft season is all the performative stuff, right? It's like, who's doing, what was the, like Malik Willis was like picking up trash last year on the street. Like there's always people are doing, right?
No, he gave money to a food to a homeless
He gave
person.
clothes to a homeless man.
Yeah.
Sure.
How dare you?
Someone the clothes off his back, right?
How dare you, Malik
Yeah,
Willis?
right.
Yeah.
He walked home shirtless that day.
How dare you question that?
You guys were there in Indy, so I want you guys to kind of like walk me through what hit the hardest at the combine in terms of like who won the Oscar? Like we had Caleb Williams like hanging around, meeting the staff on the field. I love all of it, and I want you guys to tell me like what was the buzziest in Indianapolis.
So what was so Caleb Williams was he wouldn't leave the field until he like shook the hands of every staff member there or something.
There was also a report, I can't remember if it was maybe NFL Network or whatever, that he came in when they were doing a segment with him and shook the hands of every single person that was working on the segment. Like all
this
the
is like when
cameramen,
like
all the
Tom Cruise
producers.
like, learns the name of every PA. And he's like, Jeremy, great to meet you. Jason, I'll never forget that name.
I don't know why, but I kind of like this for Caleb. Like I'm the most naive person in the world. I like it. It's a nice thing to do. It's a nice gesture.
Yeah, like the Rome Odunze thing. I understood it was performative. I also loved it. I ate it up. You tell me there's 3 top wide receivers. Marvin Harrison, Malik Neighbors won't get on the field, and Rome Odunze won't leave it.
Neighbors won't even get measured. They didn't even get like his arm length or his weight.
I like it.
Odunze up. Let's go.
Did Odunze reach his goal? Did he finally?
That's irrelevant.
Okay.
No, he didn't.
He didn't. He never got there.
I don't
Just out here like
he
Miracle.
didn't get within a 10th of a second.
I don't think so. Actually, I
Didn't
can't
come
remember.
close.
He ran
do
into
like him
6'8".
more.
He wanted to run 6'6".
There's a vulnerability in that. I actually really appreciate that he's just on camera failing for an hour and a
Just
half.
out here doing it. Everybody's trying
Craig,
to leave.
You're so true, Craig. You're so right, because on one hand, the reason Caleb and some of these guys aren't like doing these tests or whatever, they can't train for it. It might hurt your stock. It's like, why train?
Terrified to
for this
look
ridiculous
bad. Why
success?
would you? You're already
But,
at the top.
Yeah. But the flip side is also I'll be bad at it. That freaks me out. And like, that is the part of it. And I do love that he's just like, I'm going to get this.
Yeah.
And again, you're right. It's performative. But Miracle, when they're just like, again. Like just, it's how does that get your blood pumping?
But it's almost not performative because he was not even close to succeeding. So at a certain point, he must
Well, no, inherently it was performative.
It was embarrassing.
There was no objective. There was no truth to it whatsoever.
I love him the most.
I
I
just
think
start feeling bad for him.
He's after listening to you guys last week in Indy. Rome Odunze, I think, is immediately my number 1 favorite guy in this draft, and I want him on my team.
I love Rome so much, dude. I'm
Craig,
so
man.
convinced Rome is
Did
good.
you see the video of him doing a freaking gainer?
Yes.
Oh, the backflip?
No,
Yeah.
like it's like a running backflip.
I've only
yeah, that
seen
was
people do. People
ridiculous.
only do that into pools. You know what I
I
mean?
know.
Like,
Or like the big batches of foam in like a gymnastics place?
People
I used-
only do that into pools.
Craig,
got me.
I used to do gaiters off of like a 15-foot dock, and I would like barely make it around. He did this on ground,
That was
and he
wild.
landed on his
And
feet.
the best thing is there's 2 like bottom of the 7th round unathletic white quarterbacks. I don't know who exactly it is that watch him do it in the background. They're both just like, whoa.
I've decided I want Rome Odunze to be a New York Football Giant.
yeah.
God,
I've
I love
decided
Odunze.
that.
Yeah.
Odunze's the man. He's just the absolute.
By the
best.
way, we are making fun of the performative 6. He was trying to go for 6 something in the 6.6 something in the 3 cone. He tested out of the world. Like he had an awesome combine. Otherwise, other than he just didn't quite make his goal in the 3 cone drill.
the other, while we're just talking performative stuff, I guess this doesn't count. But one of those, who is the guy who just caught 2 balls in the same drill at the same time? Like just started,
nameless
the Colorado
stock-
State quarterback.
Yeah, it was
Like-
stock
Or
tight end.
they do this. Yeah, the Madden auto generated, but they just do this
They
thing
just
where
needed
they like
extra guys on the field, so there's a stock photo tight end running out.
shout out to that guy who thought he had caught all the balls in the drill and then kept the last one run up field, and then they threw him another, and he's just like, whoa, that was sweet.
A good performative, in my opinion, is Tavondre Sweat, the Texas defensive tackle, coming in at 366 pounds, by the way.
I love this.
Healthy young man. All right. Big fella. Love to see it. They asked him at the
Well-fed.
podium. Asked him at the podium, hey, what do you think you're going to run? He goes, I don't know, like 4.4. And then he ran like a 5.27. Dude, that's a great bit, dude. That killed me.
He got interviewed before it, and he was like, their minds are gonna be blown when I run the 40. And then he ran a 5.2.
They won't believe this, dude. It's going to be unreal.
Which, by the way, is good for being 366 pounds, but it's just so good that he like it's such a funny bit that he got us all going, and then whatever.
It's like Frank Gore Jr. was just like, they asked him about his basketball career, like, what have you pursued basketball? He's like, I would have been in the NBA. He's like 5'9". I'm like
Nate Robinson.
Oh my God. All right. So just looking at the rest of the class. So just, I feel like I'm curious what you guys think, but my main takeaway from the combine, was like, this is how convenient for us, a fantasy football show that cosplays as an NFL draft show for a third of the year. How convenient that this is a fantasy football draft class. This is just quarterbacks, an unbelievable amount of wide receivers, and then offensive linemen that will just make all the other positions better.
No defensive players in the top 10, right? DK in your mock?
Yeah. And it would be surprising if it was like the top 13 or 14 before. Who's the first defensive player going to go off the board? Dallas Turner, maybe? I don't know.
Quinion Mitchell.
Probably a corner. Yeah.
Who, a guy from Toledo.
Pardon?
A guy from Toledo might be the first defender taken.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He's perfect, and I love him. So don't worry about it.
Me too.
So you shut your mouth about it.
So like, wait, you were just saying, like, right before we recorded, you were saying that the thing about this class is that there are 14 great players and then like a cliff.
Like 40 other guys that could go after those guys.
Yeah, I really like this class. Like, you go through the top couple tiers of tackles, top 3 wide receivers. You're obviously going to have the quarterbacks up there. I like both the top corners in Quinion Mitchell out of Toledo and Terrion Arnold out of Alabama. I think once you get to pick like 14, 15, I think this thing starts to fall off steeply. Like a lot of the guys who I see in the back half of the first round are guys that I have problems with. You keep on hearing me say, like when we talk about players, like sure, if I could take him at 50, like sure, if I could take him at 45, but like a lot of the second tier receivers, man, Adonai Mitchell, Xavier Worthy, who ran the 4.21, Troy Franklin, Ladd McConkey. These are guys that I would much rather be taking like mid-second in terms of their profile. And these guys are potentially going to go like top 25. Some of the guys are going to get pushed up in the tackle class, same issue, right? Like I love a Kingsley Suamatia. I understand the desire for like a Taylor Guyton out of Oklahoma. These are more so guys I'd prefer to be taking in the second round. Jackson Powers Johnson, I prefer to take second round. The defensive tackles, I like Byron Murphy out of Texas. Johnny Newton out of Illinois to me is second round. Like a lot of the guys you're seeing right now get forced up. Like this class to me is like a 14, 15 player class. The thing I walk away from the combine with, like in terms of my big takeaway is, like, man, a lot of these receivers have speed, but also a lot of them have size problems. Xavier Worthy, like it's great to run that speed. It's excellent. Tez Walker out of North Carolina. Jacob Cowing ran sub 4.4 out of Arizona. We talk about Ladd McConkey out of Georgia, but these are just not the biggest dudes. From like a weight adjusted 40 perspective, the Brian Thomas out of LSU and the Xavier Legette out of South Carolina, like those are the runs, and those are the explosiveness profiles that are a lot more interesting to me because those guys are doing it over 200 pounds. Certainly Adonai Mitchell up there as well. And those are the guys that I'm more interested in as opposed to some of the smaller dudes.
DK, do you think that because we're in an era now where guys like Devontae Smith and Tank Dell are coming out of as rookies and making immediate impacts as like super undersized players, do you feel much more confident in a lot of these undersized guys now?
Yeah, and I think I do because there's
like undersized though is they're tall but they're thin.
Yeah, it's like skinny guys. You know what I mean? Like I feel like there is more proof of concept now than there ever has been. Because before we would have been like, these guys are absolute massive historical outliers. And in order for them to succeed, they have to have something special. That was why I was in on Devontae Smith, by the way, because I thought he had something special. Even though he's like skin and bones, like a beanpole, like one of the skinniest receivers in the NFL. I was like, this guy's so good in so many other ways. That he can succeed at the NFL. He had like the wingspan of like, Ryan Phelps or something. It's like, he's just built differently, literally. But now we're seeing guys, and I was a big doubter of Tank Dell, unfortunately, last year because he was 165 pounds. He was already like 24 years old. He was in, lower level competition. There was all these things that were kind of going against his profile that made me start to doubt it. And then he ended up being incredible. He's like one of the best receivers in the rookie class. And so I'm starting to have less and less doubts and have more open-mindedness about guys that are undersized. But that being said, I still think it's a concern. I don't think it's something you can completely ignore either. You know what I mean? I think all things else, everything else equal, like I'd rather have a really big guy. You know what I mean? I'd have some guy with some size. And Tank Dell, by the way, got hurt in his rookie year. So, it's one of those things where everything else being equal, you kind of go with the guy that has more size. And I do think going forward, the size profile where a guy's like 6'3", 205, something in that range is going to become more common, because before this wasn't really a common size that you'd see a lot of production out of. Like there's like DJ Chark and then a bunch of other like that. There's not a lot of guys that were that size that were putting up a bunch of stats. And I think that's going to start to change going forward.